night and off-centered edition of the Magic Box. I'm Tristan Sean Gregson here with Kyle Eck and special guest this evening, Zach Preston.
Hello.
Yes.
Zach's a good buddy of ours.
Yeah.
In town tonight for the
Cube enthusiast. Maybe somebody that we've probably mentioned in some of our previous talks for his zany antics and draft strategies.
Possible.
Zany Zach, that's what we call him.
We never call
we
him
don't
that.
call him
No. Fond of 5-color control, probably.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I like me some 5-color control.
5cc pioneer for us.
Yeah.
So, very late night. We're coming just off of a pretty much maxed out Cube League draft, which is pretty sweet this tonight. It was the first week of the new league season, so we had 16 players, pretty much all the cards in play.
Over the cap, in fact.
Yeah, and then Zach and I kind of sat on the sidelines and commented on people's card choices.
Made fun of people's drafting
fun that
choices.
way.
Yeah.
Out of 16 decks, no monocolor decks, and only one deck with greater than 3 colors.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Yeah, there was one 5-color deck, no mono red, no mono blue.
There was a very strong Boros, there was a very strong Rakdos.
There was a very strong Orzhov.
I'm just trying to talk about that.
Yeah.
Eck 3 out his pod with black-white, so he's very
proud of himself.
he's very excited, as
I
we
mean,
can all
come
tell.
on. Orzhov's horrible, so you gotta give them a little love when they do well, right?
You did have an Academy Rector that attacked for a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Did you
I think
ever
it's-
get anything with it?
I got Necropotence a couple times, I got Mode a couple times.
Alright.
You did have Necropotence pulse the fields, right?
I had Necropulse to the field.
We assembled the Voltron.
Batter Skull Pulse to the
I
field.
think Voltron was 5 pieces, not 2.
There are
So-
other pieces of them.
On tonight's show, we're going to discuss the myriad of new M14 spoilers, some of which might actually be cube-worthy this time around. It felt like we were really stretching ourselves in prior iterations to really find things to talk about for M14.
Yeah, I was talking about that on Reddit actually today, and there was a thread. What cards in M14 are you excited about for Cube? And I was like, oh, okay, well, I'll, look at the spoiler again. And, I made a list of kind of like the kind of anything from like 100%. This is for sure going in to like this is worth discussing, and the list was a lot larger than I thought it was going to be. It was a good, almost 10 cards.
Yeah, I think the last time we delved into the spoiler when it was like 100 cards, I think there were like 3 possibles with no like guarantees.
Yeah, it was still very early. So and half the spoilers we looked at were slivers. So,
Right, yeah, the great
Keep
sliver
getting
debate.
slivers?
No, the cube is not getting slivers.
On a previous episode, we talked about it. I think the standouts as far as slivers go in Cube still are your Necrotic, your Gemhide, maybe your Harmonic, and then you've got kind of like fringe stuff. Like I like Victal Sliver, which is a green and white for a 2/2. You can sack it to gain 4 life.
Alright. What about Muscle Sliver and Sinew Sliver?
Well, Crystal.
But that's going like real deep.
And Crystalline?
But okay, it's Cube format. Evening, Kenny.
Hi, Kenny.
Yeah.
Which Kenny?
Reno Kenny.
Reno Kenny.
I don't know if I know Reno Kenny.
You have to know Reno Kenny.
Maybe.
What were we getting at? So it's cube format, so you can't add a bunch of like muscle slivers, sinew slivers, but then it's like an all-in or not kind of thing.
Right, you need a
Can't
whole
you add
lot
that
of
artifact that turns all your creatures into slivers?
Hivestone?
Yeah.
You could add
I'm
Hivestone.
on board.
them.
5-color aggro.
I had actually talked to someone else today.
5-color aggro.
If like,
Go on.
if we were to build if I was to build a cube list or have a second cube, I would want to do a tribal cube, like as a point of variety, more so than anything else. Kenny says M14 looks poopy so far.
His exact words, actually.
Yeah, I would say it looks no worse than a normal core set, but I think it'll be fine. But in the meantime,
Where are these people talking to you at? Oh, over there. All right.
Zach's new to the command
Split
center.
card cube is pretty intense. I have...
That hurts my brain, just like thinking about that one.
Last thing we want to
Like
do is...
making up your own split cards?
No. Well, Kenny is actually one of the first people that just took like Magic cards and then made them all split cards.
So you just like put Tarmogoyf and Dark Confidant on the same card?
Yeah, you could do something like that, but like far more inventive. Like you'd have a Dredger on one side, like you have Golgari Grave Troll with a split card of like Flame Slash.
So you just get infinite flame slashes?
Sure.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean
I'm on
the
board.
split card cube is
So, like,
real.
every card
yeah,
is like that.
Squee Terramorphing Expanse.
That's so gross.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a very degenerate form of Magic.
Yeah.
But it opens up a lot
Bridge
of
from the below Evolving Wilds. That's also pretty sweet.
A little more. There's a little more play to that one. I think.
Yeah. So, but that one, I mean,
fetch land every turn.
talk about some seriously difficult drafting. That's a hard.
Right. I mean, yeah.
That's a hard one to wrap my brain
I mean,
around.
don't get me wrong. It's no Commander Cube format, which we've touched on previously. But actually, this is a great talking point because not only do we have the update for M14 with our feelings, we're going to go over the spoiler tonight, but we also want to touch on some great content from Gathering Magic in the last couple of weeks. We had Eric Klug's Zombie Cube, which looks like a ton of fun, and is something that's a little more out there and different from your classic tribal cubes, which I think is absolutely great and we're talking about. And then something really close to my heart, which is the 1994 cube, which is a cube of all cards printed in the first 18 months of Magic's existence, and how that format kind of shakes out. Again, spectacular articles. We'll get to them on the show, but
isn't that kind of like how Cube started? Just like a bunch of old cards people reminisced about playing about. And
it was an amalgamation.
Okay.
I think when I started my cube, that was a lot more where I was coming from, because it was we just don't get to play with this fun old stuff.
Sure.
A lot of people.
Old stuff.
A lot of people attribute the start of Cube to a box that had one of every Magic card in it, and you would just grab piles out of it and draft.
That seems like a sweet.
Historians say that there was once a big box of all the Magic cards.
In fact, it might have been cubic in shape, which might have
over time. I believe they took it outside of Sodom and Gomorrah. There was some drafting done outside there.
Various cards were turned into pillars of salt.
Yes. But we don't really know. The articles, translations were lost hundreds of years ago.
They didn't have websites back then?
Cube? Do we know that? Is this, have you guys already gone over the history of Cube and stuff on this?
The true, boring history class style of Cube?
I just want to know, who made the first Cube? Is there somebody accredited with the creation of Cube?
Moses.
The Canadian
Moses.
See, I'm not joking at that point, actually. Cube was believed to be thought of initially in Canada.
They didn't have websites to talk about this back then.
But not a specific person?
They just had stone tablets. There's no Twitter. It's just
Zach's asking a semi-serious question. We're mostly yanking his chain. Okay, well, now that we have at least a few people here to join us in the conversation, let's take a look at our first Pick One, Pack One with a very different feeling today since we have Zach. But go ahead, Eck, tell them what we're looking at.
All right, so for today's pack, we are looking at Reflecting Pool, Delver of Secrets, Winter Orb, Master of the Wild Hunt, Damnation, Phantasmal Bear, Reassembling Skeleton, Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth, Aura of Silence, Devastation, Terminus, Searing Spear, Lotus Cobra, Shrine of Burning Rage, and Covetous Dragon. So what do we like here, and why?
Well, I like Damnation for similar reasons that I've spoke about why I like Damnation in the past. You just don't have access to that many of that type of effect here. But I'll open up the floor to everyone else. That's my initial reaction.
This pack is really weak. There are a number of cards where I would not consider really taking them in the first lap, let alone first overall. I think that if you can narrow this pack down, it was probably Damnation, Master of the Wild Hunt, Lotus Cobra, Shrine of Burning Rage. I think that's really the only 4 cards that I would consider.
Sure, in a vacuum, I'm taking Master of Wild Hunt over Lotus Cobra. But I agree with you. I think you hit the nail on the head. The power level of this pack is very weak. I look at Damnation, Terminus, Shrine of Burning Rage, and Master of the Wild Hunt. What do you think, Zach?
I think Shrine of Burning Rage is the best card in this pack, and it's not close. Not even a little bit.
Not even a little bit close. You're not tempted by that Damnation because you...
Damnation's a fine card.
All right.
You have another Wrath of God effect in the pack.
But it's a white one. It's not a black one.
It doesn't matter. It's your first pack. You don't care about color right now.
All right. So
I certainly like Shrine because it's a great card in one of my favorite decks, which is the Mono Red Aggro deck. But I have played Shrine and been totally happy with it in a number of decks that may or may not even include red. So... I'm fine taking it and just probably playing it in whatever.
In summation, it feels like you're not losing anything by taking Shrine, but you also have the potential upside of a lot by taking Shrine.
I think Shrine of Burning Rage can literally go in any deck that is not a combo deck.
What about an aggressive non-red deck?
Yeah.
Any aggressive non-red deck?
Absolutely.
In an aggressive non-red deck, it's still going to do 3 or 4 points of damage.
Aggressive non-red decks don't have any reach, and Shrine gives them reach.
Okay. If I'm playing, Green Beatdown...
Yeah.
Sure. I'm playing that in my blue-white control deck.
Yeah, that's different.
Is it?
I think it's pretty different because you're attempting to extend the game and buy more turns. The Naya beatdown decks, the Bant beatdown decks, they don't want to like sit on a shrine.
No, but at the same time, like you're gonna get in a situation where you either get wrathed out of the game or you can't get through with your little guys anymore, and Shrine lets you close the game out. Like, you know, the blue-eye control deck wants to try and like dome you with Shrine for 20, and like the non-red aggressive decks want to hit you with Shrine for like 4, and that's enough.
And after that, I'm pretty sure that I'm taking Reflecting Pool.
One of the weakest of the would-be dual lands. Reflecting Pool might have its days numbered in Cube. I mean, it seems like it's so...
The card is so good.
Right, well, look who's talking. Literally, the next words out of my mouth are going to be like, it's pretty narrow, really only the 5-color deck wants Reflecting
That's
Pool.
not true at all. Blue decks want it. You have triple blue cards in your deck. You have Cryptic Commands and Teferis and other things. Like, you want access to be able to make a blue-white dual land.
I think especially like also black-white wants Reflecting Pool just because it's looking for any and all mana fixing.
Sure.
You know,
sure.
I think it's better
it's really low on the totem pole.
I mean, it's
Can we
not
at least agree on that?
Sure, it's not the most powerful land in the sense that it's not basic land type, so you're not fetching it out. You're not interacting with it in any way that other types of lands will be interacted with. It's just a good solid land. When you draw it, you play it, and it gives you your third color.
It's
most of the time. It's fine.
The thing about it is that, like, yes, clearly the 5-color deck wants it, but it's even like there are 2-color decks that will happily play Reflecting Pool. Not all of them, but you know the decks that want it that still have access to it. It's not like it just says this is a 5-color card only.
I know it doesn't say that, but I'm saying that's where it's good in my 2-color. In my blue-white deck, I don't really want Reflecting Pool. In my black-green deck, I don't really want Reflecting Pool. In my red-green deck, I don't want Reflecting Pool.
I mean, sometimes you gotta make do.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, this pack is pretty much just a giant troll because you kind of have to take Shrine of Burning Rage. It's not really close.
I think the green cards are probably what I would follow up with. Like, you know, if we were looking at this pack without Shrine of Burning Rage in, I'm probably taking Master or Cobra.
Two things from the chat. Quickly, Kenny's asking if the Shadowmoor Plains watermarked Reflecting Pool means we get to go deep on it. And we do not. We play it a little more of the classic style. Although I don't fault people for adding that kind of flavor to it. I think it would actually help it in becoming a better card. And then, secondly, thank you. He immediately calls us sissies. Thank you. And then, secondly, can we discuss a little bit more about Winter Orb because some people might pass it over in your cubes. They don't understand how it works. I could definitely attest to this. I think there are some cards like Smokestacks, like Ankh of Mishra, like Winter Orb. Pretty much cards that Eck thinks are terrible that I think are good, that are kind of like drafter dependent almost.
I think Ankh of Mishra is fine. I mean, I agree with the fact that like certain cards are drafter dependent. Like I will agree with that point. But I mean, Winter Orb and Smokestacks are just not good Magic cards.
That is not true.
You can speak your opinion, Zach. Like,
they're very good Magic cards. They're very powerful effects.
Sure.
The problem is they're the same thing as, let's say, Pod. They're build around me cards, and if you don't open them very early, you're probably not going to build the deck, because 90% of the time they're just going to be last picks in your packs.
Huh. Interesting.
Winter Orb is a little more broad than that, but Smokestacks
Smokestacks has a lot more of that kind of birthing pod syndrome. But I see what you're getting. I think that's a very good analogy. I think I give credence to that. I definitely think that Winter Orb, most aggressive decks can play with it. They don't always want to. You know, a lot of them, let's say you're just mono white, for example, like you have a curve that tops out at 5 with Cloudgo Ranger. Maybe you have multiple 5s. You have an Increasing Devotion. You have a Gideon or an Elspeth, and you've got things you want to invest your mana in every turn. It's not about just laying bears early in the game and then not needing your mana. You may be less inclined to take Winter Orb. And maybe it's a question between like when you main deck it, when do you board it in, etc., etc. But I think there's a lot of play to the card. I think that most of it just comes from experience, and you need to just have, if you have people in your player pool that don't like it, I would probably go out of my way to play it and make it good. I mean, I always tell Eck whenever he like shits on a card I think is really good, like Smokestacks. I'll be like, all right, in the next week, I'm going out of my way to make sure that you understand this card does stuff.
I think my problem that I have with Winter Orb is that it's clearly an aggressive deck only kind of card, right? Control does not want Winter Orb. And Winter Orb, it doesn't do damage. It cannot help you win the game directly. It's great if you can catch your opponent when they are tapped out and you are very ahead. And it is a horrible late game top deck. Like, it's kind of comparable in a lot of ways to Tanglewire in that sense of like the soft lock, short term kind of solution thing for aggro decks. But at least Tanglewire can disrupt what your opponent is doing as a later game top deck, whereas Winter Orb is probably not going to do that. Like, Tanglewire plays better from behind, and Winter Orb doesn't.
That's debatable.
See, Winter Orb seems like it's a very good top deck against control decks. They're going to tap out eventually for something, and you're going to cast a Winter Orb, and then you're just going to have to find a way to deal with their one Threat-Tipped Blade. Like, without them being able to counterspell it because the mana's tied up. Like, it seems like a much better card against control decks.
Yeah, even if everything in your deck costs 4 or less mana, and your opponent has multiple X's in their deck. I mean, for example, you're playing any kind of beatdown versus a deck with Sphinx's Revelation and Power Sink and Condescend and stuff like this. Like, just casting Winter Orb in your free time is gonna be an advantage for you. And it's... You know, it's not very obvious on the surface, and again, you know, that plays right into players having a hard time evaluating how it can be good. And in a lot of circumstances, you just have to kind of go with experience, or hey, direct them to the podcast. We'll try to talk about it more often.
And like the guy said, that people don't know how to evaluate the card. That also usually means that your opponents don't know how to play against it or around it. Like, you get a lot of value out of your opponents just playing wrong. Like, that increases the value of the card a lot.
I mean, yeah, people misplaying into it is certainly a thing. I don't know. I'm much happier with my aggressive decks if they have playables that don't include Winter Orb as a personal preference. I mean, you are more than welcome to go out of your way to draft it and attempt to win with it.
Dude, Bolin tonight got wrecked by it. Like, hands down lost in the game, and it's only because he didn't know how to play against it. Like, I was watching the game, he very easily could have won the game.
Didn't he play a bunch of multiple lands from his hand to be able to try to get out from under it, and then he got...
Yeah, well, he also had an Icy, and he never tapped it end of turn to untap all his lands.
That's not how it works anymore.
Oh, did they change that?
Yeah, they changed the rules.
Alright, so he didn't punt as bad as he did, but, like, he definitely played all his lands into an Armageddon and just lost the game because of it.
Alright, well, we've lingered on pack 1 for a really long time. Take that Shrine of Burning Rage, kids.
Yeah. Alright. First scenario here, looking at a sweet one.
Oh my god, this is beautiful.
I know, right?
These 4 cards are so nice.
So far we have 4 cards. They are Eternal Witness, Vendilion Click, Jade Mage, Upheaval. The pack we are looking at is Remove Soul, Regrowth, Grasslands, my bad, Engineered Explosives, Savage Lands, Prismatic Lens, Delver of Secrets, Elite Vanguard, Wildfire, Enlightened Tutor, Necromancy. What are we taking and why?
I want that Remove Soul just on my curve.
I want that Remove Soul because it's blue removal.
I want that Mana Rock all day long.
Alright.
I don't agree with the Mana Rock pick here because, like, we want to be green, and green has access to so much better acceleration than Prismatic Lens.
Accelerating lands with Upheaval isn't very good.
But you can't really get enough of it if you're playing an Upheaval deck. Like,
right.
There's no such thing as... Like, you can have a critical mass of Farseeks in a lot of decks, but you can't have a critical mass of brown acceleration in an Upheaval.
Who cares? Deck. Oh, take the Lane War Elves and the Nibble Hierarchs and the Jiraga Tree Speakers, then. Green has plenty of permanent base acceleration that costs less than 2 mana.
Yeah, but the brown ones all have haste.
Sure. But is that really that relevant?
Yes.
Like, being able to just float a bunch of mana through Upheaval and drop, like, 2 Land War Elves or whatever is already going to put you so far ahead. Like, yes, Lens cannot be bolted, but I don't think that it's as... I think the biggest problem with blue-green decks in general is not their ability to accelerate or to recover from Upheaval. I think their biggest problem is their lack of ability to deal with permanence, creatures or otherwise, which is why I like that Remove Soul.
doesn't deal with a permanent that just makes it so a permanent can't come into play, which is different.
Right.
Because in a blue-green deck, you're tapping out a lot of the time. I mean, Soul's not doing anything for you.
It's certainly not exactly the same as, like, destroy target creature, obviously. But, I mean, you gotta make do with what you can have access to. I mean, the alternative is, like, what, engineer explosives? Which isn't the worst.
Is that what that artifact is? I can't tell.
Yeah, it's got the Modern Masters artwork.
It's the Modern Masters.
On the stream we're looking at, it's not what we're used to seeing. I like the argument behind Prismatic Lens. I definitely understand it and get behind it. I think that anytime you're talking about an upheaval deck, having those brown accelerants, the 2-mana ones especially, hard to come by, very key. When I'm looking at this particular pool, I see creatures. I see a little bit more of a tap out into creatures mentality, and I want to make sure that my disruption is going to be as cheap as possible. So that's why I look at Remove Soul and I was like, this is a good opportunity to take this card. It's going to make my deck 9 out of 10 times. I mean, the Prismatic Lens is going to make it probably 10 out of 10 times. But I want to keep the doors open to, maybe that regrowth is going to wheel, and now all of a sudden I can evaluate Gifts and Given slightly differently. But I definitely understand what Zach is saying with the Prismatic Lens, and I don't fault anyone for taking it. If that Remove Soul was instead a go for the throat, then I'm taking Lens.
See, I actually think that if that Remove Soul was something like a Psionic Blast, this is a much closer pick. Because that actually deals with a permanent.
Or if it was like Beast Within or something.
Sure. Like, even that's fine. Like, but I really like Lens because Regrowth might table, a fetch land, or one of these lands might table, but most likely you're going to get this Wildfire back. And now you're just set up with Upheaval and Wildfire in your deck, and you're just going to go real big over the top of whatever your opponent's doing.
That's certainly interesting. I hadn't really considered Wildfire. I don't know. I mean, the problem is that, by deviating out of green or blue at all, you've already got double blue, double green, a green activation cost in an early play.
I mean, that Jade Mage could be a throwaway card in this particular scenario. I don't think that the Jade Mage strategy necessarily aligns with the Upheaval strategy. Maybe it could be a good backup plan if you're going to take a lot of the acceleration. And it also functions well with Vendilion Click because, in theory, you're never tapping out on your own turn.
Exactly.
But you could just play above average Magic cards in a deck like this and still be able to get away with it. So at the end of the day, that's 2 picks Remove Soul, 1 very strong argument for Prismatic Lens, and who knows, maybe
I think I might switch to Engineering Explosives.
Really?
I haven't played with that card in a long time, so maybe that's kind of swaying me. But
EE in a 2-color deck seems pretty poor.
Well, one of your colors is green, which means that...
It means you can splash for them. Yeah, I mean, that's...
You got a burger, you have a hierarch or something.
I had a blue-red deck that I was playing somebody else's pile today that I could have casually got to 5 counters on it.
Vivid Lens and stuff?
Casually could only get to 4 and not blow up Obsidian, though.
Yeah, we were missing the green. We just Cold Steel Hearted for white so we could get to 4.
I see.
We forgot which Ghost Council we were facing down, though.
I see. Alright, so Remove Soul, Explosives, Pris Lens.
A good, solid conversation about how to use your Upheaval to the best of its ability, I think, is really what this pack, or scenario for the draft, shows us.
Alright, so for our second scenario, we've gone in a completely different direction. The 4 cards we are looking at now are Gristlebrand, Corpse Dance, Doomblade, Necromancy. The pack we are past is Godless Shrine, Dance of the Dead, Ball Lightning, Baleful Strix, Goblin Settler, Standstill, Harrow, Aven Mind Sensor, Searing Spear, Rakdos Cackler, and Stupor.
Seems like the easiest swish move we've ever had for one of these.
This is the tap-in putt of all draft choices.
So I guess it's not so much the what do we take, because I think 1, 2, 3...
Dance of the Dead.
Yeah,
Thank you. Dance of the
one
Dead.
of your guy wants to take Baleful Strix or Stupor, and I'm not sure if he's trying to troll us or not, but...
That's Kenny. He could be trolling.
Slam Dunk Goblin Settler. Lock that up.
That was actually the second card I wanted to take. Like, if Dance of the Dead's not in there, it's Goblin Settler, I think.
I like... Sam Party. Sucks that we disconnected for the first 4 picks, but I guess you could salvage it with Searing Spear. Bravo. So
I'm a man that rarely passes as Gristlebrand.
Yeah, well, and you're big on the reanimation deck anyway, so...
I guess, mostly because it has access to Gristlebrand.
Well, so, like, the biggest problem I have when I'm drafting Reanimator is not getting enough spells that say I want to reanimate a card. And the fact that you can have 3 in the first 5 pictures seems fine.
So in the... the scenario and the pick in this particular setup doesn't matter. What matters is evaluating and ranking what effects you want for that deck.
I certainly like at least talking about Baleful Strix because this deck is almost always blue-black. And one of the best blue-black cards is Baleful Strix. So I could completely understand, especially where Kenny's coming from, because Strix is very good. I personally cannot have enough reanimates in the reanimator deck, and really one of the functions I like of having that setup is that it lets you get away with weaker enablers. Like, for instance, things like Una's Prowler, where if you have enough reanimation spells where you can reliably draw one or more in a game, and you just need ways to get cards into your graveyard, rather than you have to have things like Thirst for Knowledge and Strategic Planning and Compulsive Research that to dig more. You just need abilities to get stuff into your graveyard. You can kind of go deeper in that way.
Well, you don't need... Like, Black has a lot of those effects in it already. You have Pack Rat.
Yeah.
Undead Gladiator, I think, is still in your queue.
Yeah.
Like, you have a lot of mono-black ways to discard.
Right.
I don't think you necessarily need to go into blue. Red also has a decent number.
I think it's important to point out that fatties, no Putrid Imp though, fatties are not hard to come by.
No, that is the easiest part.
Yeah, so if we're going to look at this scenario as a lesson in evaluating and ranking these kind of effects, large creatures, they are abundant. You don't need to go out of your way to take them. You can't be like, oh no, I passed that Angel Despair, what am I going to do?
There are very good large creatures that you want to rate above the rest, such as Gristlebrand.
Yeah, he's one of the best.
Elish Norn, Angel of Serenity, but it pretty much stops after that. So,
with those being the kind of the lowest priority, moving up from there is probably outlets, ways to get cards into your graveyard. Because again, across all the colors, one way or another, you're going to find a way to get. If it's a faithless looting, if it's a, I'm trying to think of stuff that's off color.
Frantic Search.
Okay, blue is the most abundant.
Oh, we're trying to find.
Faithless looting.
Oh, well,
first card.
Survival.
Yeah. There's ways to make those things happen, and at the very top is obviously the most important thing is the way to get these creatures from your graveyard onto the battlefield. So for me, as much as let's say there wasn't a Dance of Dead in this pack, I'd probably want Stupor. It kind of goes with my battle plan, like Disruption early, try to get a little bit of card advantage.
See, when I draft the Reanimator deck, I don't really care about Disruption in that fashion. I'm looking for either ways to speed up my reanimation plan or ways to protect it. Which is, again, why blue is so good, because of counterspells. But, Strix is good because it buys you time. But also it's great because it draws you a card, and it gets you that much deeper to your fatties and your reanimation spells, which is really what the deck should be trying to do a lot of. I don't like reanimation as a control deck. I like it as a combo deck. So, I don't want to play cards like Stupor, or, slower cards like that. I want to play, fast digging, searching for stuff as fast as I can to try and go off. Yeah. The Reanimator deck is all about sacrificing consistency for unfairness, being unfair.
So
and Stupor is very fair.
Sam makes a very good point that, when you're doing broken things, your opponent has a bunch of dead cards, Stupor's not doing anything for you.
Yeah.
You're just discarding cards that aren't going to do anything anyways.
Yeah, you have Gristlebrand in play, you Stupor them.
Well, it's not even that. Even if your plan is to reanimate, making them get rid of useless cards like Lightning Bolt isn't doing anything for you.
Drawing your fatty in Reanimator is not the end of the world, as long as you have the proper amount of outlets for it. And that's really where one of the bigger bottlenecks in the reanimation deck is. There's a lot of the best outlets and discard abilities for reanimation are also just kind of high priority cards in other colors. people like, compulsive research, thirst for knowledge, strategic planning. These are cards that get picked highly.
Careful consideration.
Careful consideration. These are cards that are, popular and good in a lot of other colors, and, you can't rely on, getting a thirst for knowledge 11th or something.
I actually thought it was really interesting. You introduced a colorless land, or a land theme of discard into your cube, in the form of Bazaar and Drownyard.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that those types of cards make it even less important to find a discard outlet for yourself. Like, no one's taking a Bazaar ever.
Yeah, if you want the Bazaar, you can have the Bazaar.
Yeah.
Typically,
yeah, it was in the Oath deck tonight. That was kind of cool. Okay, so that ended up being a decent conversation about Reanimator. Not so much about what pick we were going to take from that pack.
Yeah.
Man, if you grabbed a few more beers, you could play the sweet Eck drinking game.
What's the Eck drinking game?
Every time Eck says on the podcast, you have to take a drink.
I have to write a paper still tonight.
Yeah, I know. That's good luck with that one.
Yeah.
In the last episode, you got up over 100.
Oh, wow.
He just goes...
That seems a little excessive.
I don't know. If you go back and listen, you will not be sober.
All right.
Okay.
It's awesome that someone made a drinking game out of your podcast.
So, we are going to look at cards I haven't even seen yet. I'm not sure what it is, but I probably endorse it. The Magic 14 spoiler, where we left off, had included such platinum hits as Garrick, Holler to Beast.
What's Garrick Holler the Beast? I know you guys went over this, but I literally haven't seen any of these cards ever.
That's fine. We'll pull it up.
I did see a Colossal Whale, which was pretty sweet in flavor.
You're going to have to go back and watch the other shows.
I watch your picks. I like the picks.
Good.
It's very interesting.
Good.
Start.
Good.
So, Garrick Holler of Beasts, we talked about extensively with Usman.
Are all the colors getting a new Planeswalker?
No.
No, only red
and red.
Yeah.
Green and red?
So they spoiled some more cards that are reprints, yada yada yada.
Experiment 1?
Alright, so...
No, that's an F&M promo.
Last week we kind of started to get a new batch, so we figured we'd talk about the newest round of spoilers now that we're fully into the week and we're in
and it helps
swing.
that the cards we're seeing now are kind of cube worthy.
Some of them at least.
Well, yeah, they aren't.
Flying Men the Sliver.
That's cool. Upgrade on Winged the Sliver.
Yeah, it's certainly true.
Oh, that guy's great.
Yeah.
No, I don't know what you guys are talking about. I'm reading that Priest.
Oh, yeah. We'll get there.
Okay,
So, I
sorry.
mean,
We kind of go in one of the reverse,
oh, all right.
go up.
all right,
counterclockwise,
okay,
that kind of thing.
So, one of the problems with the earlier set of spoilers was that a number of them, a huge proportion of them, were slivers. So we kind of talked about, slivers in the cube or what that would look like, but we kind of shrugged it off because, no one really wanted that except for the TSG.
I'm interested in it.
So,
I want to make Plague Sliver, awesome.
New slivers.
Plague Sliver?
Yeah, like a like you play it and you get an advantage over your opponent.
What is Plague Sliver?
It's the Juzam Jin Sliver.
Oh, the 4 mana 5/5?
Yeah.
I mean, isn't he just better than Juzam Jin?
Is he?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
If you change his creature type, you don't take damage.
Oh, can you even do that in the cube?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
We need some image crafters up in here.
Anyway, so there are a number of new cards that are non-sliver based that we can talk about. The first one on this list, Zathrid Necromancer, who
Also known as Rotlung Reanimator's distant cousin.
Rotlung Humanimator. So I kind of like this guy. The question really becomes, we've seen this effect before in Rotlung Reanimator, and that's a card that I don't know has ever been... Was he ever in cube?
He might have been in the early days when you just needed value cards.
Yeah, there were just fewer cards that did things like that.
Clerics weren't really a thing ever.
Mm-hmm. I thought they were in block. I thought clerics were block things.
We're talking about cube.
We're talking
they
about-
were a thing
sorry.
in cube.
I think Rotlung was more just kind of like a...
It's like a 2/2 with Undying almost. Back before any of those things ever.
I was gonna say like Penumbra.
Isn't he like
Sure.
wasn't there a white guy in the last set, Loyal Qatar or something like that came back as a 2/1
Yeah.
after it died?
Yeah.
Same effect.
Similar to Doom Traveler.
Yeah.
So this guy really, having it be humans, having what?
Nothing.
So having him be humans rather than clerics obviously is a big improvement. I think there are more.
Does something like Cube Tutor let us?
What's Cube Tutor?
You're great, Zach. You just straight up never seen the show.
No, you're just walking around, looking around.
So the Cube Tutor wouldn't let you sort by like creature type or anything. It wouldn't let you tell you like how many humans we have in the cube versus how many
human? Nah.
Other things.
I could try and find out, but not right now.
I mean, the point is that humans, they're
more prevalent.
Right, and they're this kind of evergreen creature type for Magic.
Yeah.
That not only are things being retroactively changed to humans, but humans will always be printed.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, there better be a new cleric block coming up, or Rotlung's not going to get any better.
I don't know what the frozen is, but no.
Defrozen? Like unfrozen?
Oh, did I just become unfrozen?
Thawed out, yeah.
There are words in the English language for that one, but that's fine.
Anyway.
It's Encino, Zach.
So, I kind of like this guy.
I kind of like him too, but I'm not like...
I'd have to do a hard count on humans before I made any kind of...
Right.
Like,
you could do some hard putrefy
versus abrupt decay math. Yeah. So I have him as a maybe, kind of in my head.
Definitely in a vacuum. He's
determined, needs further research, I think is a fair place to put him. Yeah. Fiendslayer Paladin, 2/2, first strike, lifelink, cannot be the target of black or red spells for 3 mana.
See, when first time I read this, I thought it was black or red spells or abilities, and I was into this card. Now that it's only spells, and this guy could still get like Necrotalled, or even more embarrassingly like Spike Shot Eldered, I'm way less excited about this thing, and I don't think it's actually going to make its way into the cube.
Like, isn't Paladin and Beck just better than this card?
Well, you're trading lifelink for proper protection.
Yeah, I mean, when he was only, in theory, going to die to, like, Earthquake, I was like, okay, I can get behind this card. Like, there's enough going on where I'm into this. And, like,
yeah.
The first strike is really key against, like, most of Red's threats. Like, he's still going to be able to take out
and lifelink is good. I'm a big fan of incidental lifelink in general.
Exactly. I mean, that's the way you want to do it in cube. You don't want to go out of your way to have to put life gain cards in.
Yeah.
And this is a way to kind of circumvent that. Because, you know, when you look at Paladin and Beck in cube, you're not pumping the fist ever. You're not excited.
He is very unexciting.
You're looking for a role player, and he often does that.
Sam Pardee will say, like, double white bears are just not where you want to be.
And actually, he's saying that this seems
substantially better than Paladin and Beck. I mean, lifelink is very good. Right.
I mean, here we have the opportunity to weigh exactly how much better it is.
I'm just so unexcited.
I can't imagine.
Paladin and Beck is very unexciting. Almost to the point of why is he even in cube?
And this card's
not like thrilling me with how much better it is.
I don't think this
if it's even better, period. You know, dying to Necrotall versus lifelink, I think and being blocked by red and black guys is a relevant thing compared to protection. It's just kind of
He's no Silver Knight.
He also dies to Wildfire, which Paladin lives through, which is very important.
Yes.
Because that card just wrecks white.
Yeah, so initially when I saw this card, I thought, like, boom, lock it up, let's get him in there, let's get some life gain going, and now
backpedaling?
I am backpedaling, indeed.
Next up on the list, Banisher Priest. Another human working with this guy.
Boom. The new clean wording.
The new updated, if you guys have not seen the new updated Fiend Hunter wording, this is what it reads now. When Banisher Priest enters the battlefield, exile target creature an opponent controls until Banisher Priest leaves the battlefield. So, this is a 2/2 as opposed to a 1/3, but you kind of lose the ability to get wacky with it. Because of the triggers not being separate.
In terms of cubing, it's a bit of a downgrade. So, like Fiend Hunter, you could protect your own guys from an oncoming Wrath of God. You can make some interesting enter the battlefield, leaves the battlefield triggers, which I'm into. So we have losses there, and we also get to do the sweet like Crystal Shard tricks where it's like trigger on,
right? Trigger on, flip it. Yeah.
You also have the problem of 2/2s wanting to trade. Like, and 1/3s are more defensive, and like you clearly don't want to be trading when you eat a guy, right? Like, I think the power and toughness switch is actually.
I mean, you never want to give the guy back.
Yeah.
No, you've taken what Sam's line is here. It's much better than Fiend Hunter for aggressive decks. Obviously, doubling up on power is a big deal, but the trade-off isn't necessarily worth it for him.
No.
I think in the 700-card Power Cube format environment that we have, we could probably find room for this card. Who knows? Someone in the future may convince me that it's time to cut Paladin and Vec for this card.
Oh, what do you know?
We'll see how things shake out when it comes to actual cut time.
So,
long story short, though, with a larger cube, I think this kind of card... This card exactly will have space.
I mean, I think it's a fine card. It's just, again, it's not jumping off the page as being so much better than current options. I think Fiend Hunter is fine.
Well, it doesn't do anything new.
Fiend Hunter number 2, is probably fine. So another card that we talked about on the Twitter world side of things for a while after it got spoiled, Dark Prophecy, triple black. Whenever a creature you control dies, you draw a card and lose 1 life.
And this card exists in enchantment form, so it's not a sorcery.
It's not a guide.
You're not glimpsing unthinkably. It's not a creature, which would obviously make this card better. It's kind of an engine, but it's another one. It's an enchantment where you cast it and immediately something doesn't happen immediately. You have to.
Fecundity do? It's like a similar.
It's both sides, though. It's both.
Fecundity is it's symmetrical.
Also? Okay.
Yeah.
So. My issue with Dark Prophecy, really is twofold. One, the triple black is a huge strike against this card. Triple black, we've talked extensively about all of the various problems that black has, and a lot of it has to do with all of its good cards being extensively black mana heavy, so it's very difficult to fit them into other decks or fit other colors in, and this is no different. I don't think the effect is powerful enough to warrant the triple black cost. This is certainly not as powerful as Necropotence. This is, just not necessarily on the same level as those other cards. And the other problem is, it's not a May. This is a lot like the potential, Richard Anurid problem, where you might want to turn this off and you can't. And...
Well, at least you have control.
You're afraid of dying to the 1 point.
Because there's no May.
Right. So
you draw a card, you lose a life.
You have a couple guys at play, and you're at life, and they wrath you.
That can't be relevant. There's so many black cards that already do that you can't deal with.
But it's just you have more control over you casting creatures than with a card like Wretched Anurid, where you don't have control over your opponent casting creatures.
Or you already play Phyrexian Arena, right?
Do you really want to?
Same thing.
It's not the same thing at all.
Do you really want to play a card in a deck that really wants a lot of creatures that, in the late game, maybe makes it so you can't cast any more creatures? Especially in black, a color that has no ability to remove this card once it's in play. Locking yourself out of the game seems terrible.
I don't know. You cast Necro many times.
Yeah.
Yeah, Necro is different.
I know. I just think that I think we're beating around a lot of stuff that really makes sense. Which, in a way, is you're playing an aggressive black-based creature deck. Where in my game plan do I want to take a turn off to cast this thing, and then either immediately cash in on it or have it do nothing? What kind of control deck shell am I playing this in that also has an abundance of creatures, and I also have an abundance of a life total? It doesn't all add up, and it's a lot to put into something that you don't.
I'm a huge fan of the mostly black, usually also green, graveyard-heavy recursion deck with things like Gravecrawler and Varol's the Scar-Striped and, on down the line. And this card would be probably not even good in those decks because it's really hard to cast and you're potentially going to kill yourself way too fast. I just think this card, for the way it is costed, it's the fact that it's a liability is stupid.
I mean, that's what black does, right?
The drawback of this card should be that it costs triple black. It should not have any further drawbacks from that, such as you lose life.
I'm not going to defend it because I don't think it's worthy of defending.
I can't believe we've talked about it for 5 minutes. This card is not good.
It was just a big talking point for a while. So
really?
Yeah, when it got spoiled, people freaked out. And I mean, if you need a sign that this card is not gonna do anything, Sam Black himself, upon seeing this card, was very underwhelmed, and he is the king of all things that involve sacrificing creatures at this point in time. So I'll take his word as gospel on this kind of effect.
Ooh.
Moving on from there, we got Nightmare. Always good to see Nightmare back, but not relevant for us. A new Gemhide Sliver, this time at Uncommon.
Right, this is exactly one of the cards we needed in order to make Slivers even be a talking point for Cube in the near future. We need more cards like Gemhide Sliver. So we've doubled up on them. It's
100% more Gemhide Slivers.
Yeah.
Crazy if they reprinted it with a different name.
Yeah.
Well, it's now all Slivers have to be reprinted with different names because they all say your control.
It's like there's a new muscle.
Oh, is that what's going on?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
All right.
Zach's a little behind the times.
Sorry, guys, I don't read spoilers.
Pyromancer's Gauntlet, 5 mana artifact.
Ship it.
Yeah.
Ship it.
Wait, what does it do? For red instants? Alright, I don't care.
It makes red sources of damage do 2 more points.
That's terrible.
Yeah. So, Strionic Resonator.
Got a sweet name.
2 mana artifact, pay 2, tap it. Copy target triggered ability you control.
Ooh, Zach, do you have your attention?
Board.
Which is very much a new kind of version of this. We've seen the copying activated abilities, copying spells. Copying triggers is the new one, I guess.
In the long run, it's only got, room to improve, right?
Yeah.
This card can't get worse unless, the rules of Magic drastically change. I think there's a lot of stuff that kind of goes under the radar. I mean, creatures in this day and age of Magic trigger all over the place, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's some, I know a lot of people say this, but I truly believe at one point every creature in Cube was going to be an aggressively costed 1-drop or enter the battlefield. Creature.
We're certainly getting
a 1/8/7 is some kind of Necrotal variant. And that, bleeds right into the think. Well, it's like now for 2 mana, I can have a second Flametongue Kavu effect, a second Necrotal effect.
A second Reveler?
Sure.
Blow my mind. I was playing small ball and
we're going right to the big
a second
boys.
Cloudgut Ranger, a second Siege Gang Commander.
Primeval Time.
Copying Storm. The Storm trigger.
Yeah, that doesn't apply to us, but yes, that card can do those things.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is only going to get better. It's not...
Now, Kenny, I will say, I expected, if this card was actually going to be as powerful as we talk about it can be, 2 to cast, 2 to activate is pretty reasonably priced.
I think it just depends entirely on what you're copying.
In a world of casual Magic players that love their EDH-based artifacts, this card could have cost 5 to cast, 3 to activate.
Does it say it can't do mana abilities?
Triggered ability uses the words when or whenever or at.
What kind of mana ability are triggered?
Suchi is a mana ability, right?
It's a triggered ability.
A triggered ability.
So yeah, you could trigger
Suchi. When it goes to the graveyard. Yeah, you can copy a Suchi.
You can copy a
Suchi.
Suchi.
Just ramp to 6 mana?
Sure.
I'm just asking.
A
lot of these things say that they don't include mana. But
right.
Yeah, you could double up on your Lotus Cobra.
Sure, there you go.
Double up on Strip Mine.
It's like a big Metamorphose.
No,
that's an activated ability.
Yeah, dang it. So anyway, it will get better over time. And
the question is, right now, is it too narrow, or is it a combo card? Could you put it in a cube and have it be something you could pick up early and build around it, or is it so it's just a complement to something?
Yeah,
I think it's kind of a complementary card rather than a build around card right now. I think it's okay, but I think it's probably too slow.
You go get 4 lands with your Yavimaya Elder. You should.
Yeah, sure. Get 2 enchantments with your Academy Rector. Does that work?
Yeah. Well, no, because you only get to exile them once.
Yeah.
Because exiling is part of the resolution cost.
Moving on from that one, Elite Arcanist, 4 mana, 1/1. Never mind.
Oh, that's blue creatures do very good things. What does it do?
You exile an instant from your hand, and then you can pay to copy the instant.
But you have to tap the creature?
Yes.
That's terrible. It's like a really bad Isochron Scepter.
So, moving on from him, a guy I do actually want to talk about, Colonian Hydra. 3 green for a trampoline, comes into play with 4 +1/+1 counters, and when it attacks, you double the number of +1/+1 counters on everything you control.
What?
Including itself?
Everything?
Yes.
Oh, shit. That's the first time I read it that way. I thought it was just the him.
Creature,
No.
not everything.
Well, number of +1/+1 counters on each creature you control.
That's very different than what you just said.
I said +1/+1 counters on everything. Not thinking of lands with +1.
I'm going to put a
counters.
+1/+1 Shanner on my Gideon Jura.
Yeah.
Duh.
So, I really like this guy.
You are the, as far as I'm concerned, you are the used car salesman on this card, because I have not bitten on another seemingly vanilla fatty.
This guy is pretty good, right? Like, he's like a 8-power trample guy attacking for 5.
Yeah. If you get to attack with this guy by himself, is an 8/8 trample for 5. He comes in at a point in the cube, or a point in the curve for green, where his competition is
Fireworks.
America.
We'll let that in post.
No, we won't. So at 5, green has really the card that this competes with to me is Wolfir Silverheart.
Competes with?
It is like a similar kind of thing.
Well, back it up. Beep, beep, beep. We've got things that cost 5 in green and cube.
Yeah.
Acidic slime.
Sure. Not really comparable.
No, but I'm saying, like, these are the slots. You have so many slots.
You're right.
Acidic slime, Wolfir Avenger,
Silverheart.
Deranged Hermit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is this guy doing something different enough?
All
those cards are very.
He's smashing for 1,000,000 damage with trample, which is really relevant. I mean, Wolfir Silverheart is very good, but he doesn't have trample, and not to mention the fact that this guy gets very out of hand if you have anything even remotely resembling a Gavity Township, or a Johnny Goldmane, or a Johnny Color Pride, or any other.
If you have these other cards that are all very good on their own,
sure. If you have other cards that have +1/+1 counters, this guy goes through the roof very quickly.
So I got, Kenny's listing some other cards over there. I think that we may be able to scale back. I mean, we'd have to cut a Wickerbow Elder or a Ingrid's, not cutting Stomp Howler. We could cut like a Wickerbow Elder to include this guy in the cube.
Yeah. I'm fine with that. Like, this guy, good point in chat. Unassisted, he kills in 2 hits. It's for 8 and then 16. Like, that's a big game.
Seems like there's a ton of stuff there.
How about we cut Vorapede for that guy?
I don't know what Vorapede is. Is that the
5
dying guy?
triple?
Yeah, get that guy the fuck out. Sorry if there's no cursing.
No, you're
that guy's triple green. That guy's terrible.
Things with Undying.
No, I would. I'm on board with swapping that.
Like,
Genesis is a completely separate topic, in my opinion. I think that people do not like the Genesis these days. Anyone want to back up Genesis? I'll back up Genesis.
I mean, I'm fine with Genesis. I like it.
It's just very slow and kind of dirtily.
Right.
But that's fine.
No, well, what makes it fine is that when green goes up against blue, green has some inevitability.
Yeah, inevitability is important for the green deck. I think that's fine.
If green goes up against black.
Yeah, I think this guy, I would much rather have this guy than Vorapede. Like, Undying is great and all, but man, this guy does a lot of work by himself.
I'm not excited to have this guy.
Like, Vorapede lives...
Yeah, neither am I.
But I'm more excited to have this guy than Vorapede, which doesn't say much.
I'm not trying to say I'm trying to dissipate X Raging Heart on here. I'm just trying to understand, like...
I'm not excited about either of these cards. There's got to be something better in the 5-drop for green.
Yeah, well, we
can go deep and look.
This is... Sure, bring it up right now. Why not? We're having the conversation as we go.
I'm really excited to get to Chandra.
Yeah. Let's talk about Chandra. You guys talk about Chandra while I find all the green creatures that cost 5.
We'll wait on it. I mean, the chat's pretty lively now. We're slowly getting viewers. This is kind of how this process works. Once we've taken a card that we like a lot in a 4 cube, or someone really likes and advocates for, we'll match it up against what's in there in cube, kind of like where there's space for it. If we can change kind of casting costs around and see if we can make space for it. So, Eck is proposing. I mean, there's cards like Thornling. Thornling's been in the past.
He's been in and out. 186 options. Alright.
Alright, Cynic Slime is in.
I miss Ant Queen. I miss when Ant Queen was
Ant Queen was in for a long time. Ageless Entity.
Who's never been in the cube.
Never been in.
I like
Arashi was in for a while.
I like that guy a lot.
Arrogant Worm. Yeah, Arrogant Worm.
Try to keep this semi-serious.
Yeah.
Let's see what's going on here. Stop me if you see anything interesting.
So far, it's been Arashi.
And I like Ant Queen more than Arashi these days.
Oh, what do you think about Hornet Queen? Not.
Oh, that's a separate conversation. That's actually Hornet Queen is actually part of probably next week's new Versus segment.
Ah, okay.
I like that. No, that's not the guy I like. Never mind. Ignore that part.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, are we really gonna go through?
We need a little Jeopardy music.
Yeah, Garrick's Pack Leader.
That guy's been in the cube before. He was
you
not
draw a card
good.
for anyone who's 5 power or more.
Mhm.
3 power or more.
Oh, 3 power or more is more relevant.
Yeah.
Keep it going. Histrodon, we used to play that guy.
Histrodon.
I like that guy actually.
Histrodon's sweet. No problem with Histrodon.
I also like Kadon.
K-North. Another
Triple green.
triple green.
So is Vorapede though. Like,
Would you rather K-Norther or Vorapede?
I'd rather have K-North.
I'd rather have the new guy.
K-North's got Shroud, right?
Mycoloth?
Yeah, I'd much rather have that guy.
Mycoloth?
Mycoloth is definitely worth considering. I think I'd rather have a Mycoloth than this new Baloth.
I don't know about that. Putrefex?
I mean, obviously, Rod Hystrix is the way we need to go. Let's just kill it now.
Rushwood Elemental.
What's Rod of Hystrix?
It's Sam's Invitational card.
Is it the Sam Party Invitational card?
Oh, the 3/6?
The 3/6 for 5? Yeah.
I actually like that 4/5 guy right there we just passed.
Which guy? 6/4 guy?
The Rusty Scarab guy.
Rusty Scarab. 4/5?
What? What does this thing even do?
Dude, you can't say that card is bad when you play a 4/5 that domes you for 4 whenever you cast Wildfire.
We don't play that
We cut
card.
that. We cut that.
Alright. I'm like, that guy at least has relevant ability.
Silklash Spider. Spectral
I like
Force.
Spectral Force.
Spectral Force is very similar to the card we are currently
Yeah,
talking
Spectral
about.
Force does not compare very favorably, in my opinion, to the Hydra.
Thornling.
Thornling. Right. Oh, Great Tusk,
Guardian,
yeah.
right.
Nobody's turning away him.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
nothing there very exciting.
Well, that was a fun trip down 5 mana cost lane. I mean, there are certainly options at that casting cost, but I like this guy. He's very simple in what he does, but he does it very well. He's not tricky, but man, he is just smashing people in the face for a ton.
All I'm saying is he's so lucky he has the word trample on him. If he had any other...
Oh, this wouldn't be a conversation if he did not have trample.
What if he had flying?
Okay, then that would be a conversation once again.
I still think trample is better than flying in this particular circumstance.
Okay, if it had haste. What if it had haste?
5. 8
Yeah,
power.
I guess that'd be
8
better.
power haste guy for
Yeah.
5 mana, then do
Pretty
it.
good.
Yeah, it's alright. That's pretty good.
Alright, so, on to the big one.
Look for us to continue this discussion and debate later. We'll probably either bring this one to the versus stage for next week, or
What is this versus stage you keep referring to?
You'll have to tune to the show.
Yeah, I like how you keep
Probably not
asking.
gonna happen,
Yeah,
I'm gonna be honest.
You keep asking questions to the people that know what it is.
What do you guys do on this show that you host?
Uh,
Chandra Pyro Master.
Not Mancer, not
Master.
not novice.
The master of the Pyro.
If
Plus
you-
1.
Yeah, go ahead and tell everyone.
2 red casting cost, 4 loyalty. Plus 1. Chandra deals 1 damage to target player and 1 damage to up to 1 target creature that player controls. That creature cannot block this turn.
Relevant.
0. Exile the top card of your library. You may play it this turn. Minus 7. Exile the top 10 cards of your library. Choose an instant or sorcery exiled this way and copy it 3 times. You may cast copies for free. So, who else? So, I'm gonna. I wonder if I can find it. I'm gonna look for the picture that. Anyway, go ahead and talk about this.
This is why we have show notes. This card's gonna make the cube.
Is it?
I don't know.
It's
about
going
that.
in over the other 4 mana Chandra, right?
You are 100% accurate.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I could get
That is a fair trade. I don't think this card is very good.
Okay.
But it is better than the other Chandra.
Okay.
I think it's
Isn't
just.
it in your sent email to me? You sent it to me via email.
Oh, that's right. I did send it to
Yeah.
you via email.
Arrested Development. What are we looking at?
It doesn't matter. Eck really likes a meme. He wants to share with people that like magic.
It's funny. Anyway, so I'm fine with it replacing that Chandra because neither one are that great anyway.
Well, the whole point of the 4-mana Chandra was that...
Get it?
We all at it.
I get
It's funny
it.
because on the stream you can't see the bottom.
Yeah, I don't know why that is. There we go. Anyway, yeah. I mean, this is kind of how I felt about new genre.
Is it a bag of poop?
Have you just not seen Arrested Development?
I haven't finished the new
a
season.
bag of poop.
Or is this...
This is from the old season.
Oh, dude, I haven't watched that since it came out.
Anyway,
So
she did very unexciting. Much like
the whole point is we have a 4-mana Chandra in the cube right now. Not really because it's any good, but because we want additional things that cast that will live through cards like Jockle Hops and Wildfire and yada yada
Don't
yada.
you want those cards to do something?
Well, they do.
What does this card do? Pings them for one?
It's the same thing the other one was doing, although this one might do more.
Maybe.
The ultimate on Chandra the Firebrand is pretty
I
unfortunate.
don't even know what it does.
it's 6 damage.
To up to 6 targets.
It's Inferno. Or something like that.
Similar to Inferno.
I think that the new Chandra is a slight upgrade over the last Chandra we got. I'm not entirely sure why they have such a weird problem printing a good Planeswalker in red other than Koth. But
me and Sean had this conversation earlier. I actually think that the first Chandra they printed was really where they wanted to be. They just didn't cost her correctly. She was too overcosted for what she did. But like her abilities were very good.
I agree.
I love me a Chandra Dalar. I think a Chandra Dalar into a Wildfire, a Jaggle Hops, any of these cards
Everything in the Wildfire with her in it.
Everything in the Wildfire is absolutely perfect. Chandra Pyromaster, I'm not overwhelmed by this card, but I don't think I was ever meant to be. I think that it's going to play...
If this thing could cost 3 and come in with 3 loyalty, it'd be a lot better.
This thing's going to do a whole lot more than Chandra the Firebrand with the Fork ability. There's going to be a lot of card advantage found in that exile the top card of your library. We haven't even started to talk about Sensei's Divining Top, Sylvan Library, cards like Enlightened Tutors, Vampire Tutors.
4 mana with 4 loyalty is fine. Like, I don't think.
And you can't even like drop it on purpose when you cast it.
Yeah,
It's going to exit your turn with at least 4 life points, if you will.
That's like really relevant. The fact that it
Yeah,
lets the
another way to
aggro
cheat
decks
Cruel's Maiden.
stay really
with
aggro.
the ultimate? Sure.
Oh.
That's ambitious.
Dude, that's gross. That's not ambitious.
That's kind of gross.
Top-
I'll probably end up doing that at some
Top
point.
10
Or
cards?
trying to.
By the time you can do that, you only that's like half your library.
Yeah, I'm on board with this plan.
Thank you, Cruel Ultimatum.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, Cruel Ultimatum with the old Chandra was fine too. You could just fork it.
No, you didn't. You have to cast it.
Yeah.
You have to get red, red, black, 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 blue, blue.
So you're just
With
talking
this
like
Chandra, we don't have to have that.
strictly cheating.
You're not cheating.
Like,
you worked for it.
You can cast it eventually in your deck. Like, you have lands that will cast it, but this just lets you do it without having to.
I mean, let's say you didn't. And let's say you had a brainstorm.
Yeah.
Alright.
I mean,
I don't like her ultimate is very underwhelming.
I'm very meh.
very underwhelming.
I'm very meh here.
Her plus ability is very good though.
I mean, there's a lot of spells that you could triple that won't do anything. Like 3 upheavals.
Yep. 3 wildfires.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you kill everything at that point, but Paladin in the back.
The board is wiped. There's the Paladin back.
So, well, it's a giant paladin event, like Moto style. It's like this big. So, Chandra, meh. Probably go in. Not really exciting.
I was going to get in there. It's so much better than Chandra.
Speaking of a card that is definitely making the cube, no questions asked. Oath of the Ancient Wood.
Currently the
mama.
front runner for the second best card name in all of Magic 2014.
It's
X seems to hate this card with a passion.
Yeah,
and
it's
I
so
don't
weird.
Really understand
For
why.
2 days now, he's been complaining about how much he hates this card, and everyone else is extremely indifferent.
We've talked about cards.
It's
that
just
were
like
worse than
shockingly
Society
bad.
tonight. No,
Is it? I'm not shocked.
It's not that bad. It's not good in any way, but like we've talked about other cards tonight that are just worse than this.
The best card name in all of Magic 14 is easily Colossal Whale.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
Oh,
Colossal
my God.
Whale is pretty great.
Oh my god, it applies to so many things in life.
Moving on. Dardastes reprint. New Crusade mod? Modded Crusade?
I think this card's pretty sweet.
It's greater. Wait, what is the greater?
As
than-
long as your life total is greater than or equal to your starting life total, creatures you control get +1/+1. Whenever one or more creatures you control attack, gain life equal to the number of attacking creatures.
Oh, this is sweet.
For 2 and a white.
Yeah, I'm on board with this.
Huh. Now that I've read it an additional time, it's not as good as I thought it used to be. I thought it was...
Really?
Yeah, I thought it was your guys gain lifelink.
Oh, this is way better. They don't have to hit.
Okay. And they just, like, get big.
Yeah, like...
Also, I like the way that this is worded in the sense that you gain the life all at once and not separately, so Archangel of Thune doesn't trigger 40,000 times.
How is that better for us?
It's not, but I mean, like, I
just
guarantee
cleaner.
that's like, it's cleaner and that's what they were thinking of.
Yeah. Instead of, like, the old Righteous Cause triggers.
Right, the fact that this isn't Righteous Cause directly, like Crusade with Righteous Cause. This is fine. Again, this is one of those cards that...
I don't know, it's a bunch of work. I mean, Kenny's saying we got to jump through a bunch of hoops to make this thing happen.
You
guys
do.
already play this huge token theme in your white. Like,
right, but you don't have to be above 20 to turn on all the Crusades otherwise.
But you don't, like
you have to be
a Crusade.
You have to be winning for this card to do anything.
That's not true. This card just lets you win the race because while I'm attacking you and you're attacking me, I'm just gaining life, you're not. Like, it doesn't have to be a Crusade.
I mean, just playing it as Righteous Cause.
Zach's got a big point here. I mean, you're still getting something out of it, even if you're not getting the maximum.
Like, I don't have to be at 20 life to make this card relevant.
Sure. 3 mana Righteous Cause.
I don't think it's going to make the cube, but I like it as a Magic card, and I think it's going to work out well.
We've got the Flavor Trio.
There's no way it could ever make it in the cube.
But cool.
Full flavor.
Full flavor.
Yeah.
Are all 3 of these cards work together? Is that what's going on?
You get your
common,
witch.
Uncommon, rare.
Yeah, the witch goes and finds her
Fetch.
cauldron, and then go gets a newt, and things happen.
Oh, it fetches both?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you could put the newt in the cauldron, and then stuff happens.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
It's a witch's brew. We've got a new Great Sable Stag on the horizon.
And really what's important to point out before we go over this card specifically is that we're going to get, we assume, and I'm pretty sure this is the case, a full cycle of kind of the new quote-unquote hoser-type creatures. We've seen Lightwielder Paladin. He's going to take out the red and the black for us. And this new one, the Witch Stalker, which I got to tell you, if you hadn't shown me the artwork, I would have never guessed that this thing looks the way it does. Tell me what we've got for
this
our...
thing is sweet.
So it's a 1... It's 3/3 for 1 and double green. It is a wolf. Hexproof. And whenever an opponent casts a blue or black spell during your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on it. So this is kind of similar to the last card. I think all of these really, to me, feel like they're compared to things like Paladin and Vec or Great Sable Stag. You know, these cards feel better against the non-colors that they're hosing, but worse in that matchup.
Huh.
So you think Great Sable Stag is better in the blue-black matchup than this card is?
Yes.
Why?
Because they can't block it, and they can't counter it. Like, they cannot stop Great Sable Stag.
Well, like, they're probably not going to be able to block this. It's going to be huge, right?
They have to cast spells on your turn. It's not just when they cast spells. It's only when they cast spells on your turn.
Sure. So now my spells, like, can't be countered?
I mean, they could make it bigger. Like, sure. Like, they could just, like, keep jamming spells and make it larger. But I just think, like, they could still keep throwing guys in front of it. Like, Bitter Blossom makes this thing look really bad.
Yes, this card is a hobo, yes.
But, like, Great Sable Stag, like, actively says, screw you to Bitter Blossom, as an example.
Now Eck's the one yelling. He's on his high horse on this one.
But, like, I would much rather have a 3/3 Hexproof against, like, say, Red deck than Great Sable Stag.
I guess, but let's be real here. So, to me, I look at this card and I see the Hexproof Trained Armadon.
Yeah.
And that is not at all exciting to me.
Also,
yeah.
True. Fair. Although, like, I'm not a big fan of the 3/3 Flash guy that regenerates either.
Wolfear Avenger?
Yeah, I like this guy better than that guy, I think. Like, they're both in there against control, right? I guess this guy can be countered, though, right? Like,
Yeah,
there's
he can be
nothing in there
countered.
that says he can't be countered? No. Alright, never mind.
Wolfear Avenger also... He kind of goes both ways. I mean, he
The
ambushes
surprise
Yeah, he surprise
very
blocks.
good.
Yeah, he ambushes the
relevant.
2/2s.
He's
and-
occasionally Wing Shards, which is good.
Yeah. Where this guy does not have that.
I mean, Great Sable Stag's been out for a while, and I don't think that this guy is an interesting enough upgrade.
Yeah, I don't think
To
he'd
really
be
warrant
much
it.
better. Yeah.
it's kind of disappointing, really.
Yeah.
I think this card's like one extra keyword away from being hot. And
Sure.
that keyword couldn't be regeneration. It couldn't be... There's a lot of things it can't be.
It can be trample.
It could be Flash.
Trample would be good.
Trample would.
Flash would be really good.
First Strike?
No.
That would be way out of character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this card is one, like... But when you stalk, you don't really have Flash. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Pounce? Is there some sort of
Pounce like a witch pouncer?
Yeah.
Is there a
Witch Pouncer?
Yeah.
I mean, Pouncing Jaguar had Echo, and I don't want this card to have Echo.
Alright.
Witch Pouncer. If this had been Witch Pouncer...
Witch Pouncer with Flash?
We would be all over it.
Sure.
Intimidate is pretty decent, actually.
Yeah, actually,
Yeah.
Alright, so that comes down to the 3 new ones for today. As of the time of this recording.
We haven't reloaded the page like an hour. There could be more cards.
Okay, we'll do that right now.
Come on, buddy. Come on. Oh, okay,
Oh,
no, nothing new. Alright.
Alright, so the first one, Haunted Plate Mail.
Also known as X Underwear.
Interesting.
That's more information we need.
4 mana artifact. It's an equipment. Equipped creature gets +4/+4, and it equips for 4 mana. But you can pay 0 to turn it into a 4/4 spirit until end of turn, only if you control no creatures.
Well, you missed some key words there. 4/4. It's an artifact creature, so it itself becomes an artifact creature, and it is no longer an equipment.
Right, you just animate, because
Well, that
things
happens
cannot
to
be
any
creatures and equipment at the same time anyway.
Like, even if you, animate a sword, it is no longer an equipment.
They can be them. You just can't attach a creature to another creature.
Yeah,
like the old Karn Silver Golem.
Knock off your boots.
Turn off your GT tech
Yeah.
we used to have. Not till
No,
EOT.
it's until end of turn.
Yeah. Does it say that? Yes. So that's the first chunk of text is until end of turn.
So I actually like this card a fairly decent amount.
I think this card's very good in Cube.
Yeah, I think that it's going to be an awkward to kill control threat a lot of times. Having it have a backup life. Think of it like kind of like Batterskull, where it's obviously not as good as Batterskull, but like it's an equipment, but it's also a threat, but it's also an equipment, but it's also a threat. Like Oath of Druids is going to love this.
Yeah.
Wildfire decks are going to love this.
This card
Balance deck, any deck with balance.
Yeah. This card is definitely better than Moonveil Spear. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know what that
Moon
does.
Silver Spear?
Sorry, Moon Silver Spear. Are you guys familiar with that one? It's a 4 mana equipment. You equip for 4, and every equipped creature has first strike. And every time the equipped creature attacks, you put a 4/4.
Yeah, that card's terrible.
That's still an 8 mana investment all day long to try to get something.
To get a 4/4.
Where this card's
like a good Chimeric idol.
This is a 4/4 for 4, effectively, if you don't have any other guys. And if you do have other guys, you get to make them gigantic.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that this is just like the upgraded Volshock Battle Gear plays really well in a regular limited format. And I think that's really what makes this card a cube-worthy card, is that you have that kind of like classic limited element of equipment is good to be equipment, but you also have that kind of like goes the extra mile effect where in control decks, combo decks like Oath, this card still has play, it's still going to be sought after, it's going to be a really good card. I mean, I'm already thinking like, well, is this something I really want to take highly with Stoneforge Mystic? I don't know.
Sure.
Maybe.
I think I agree that the equip cost is a bit high.
It's actually not very good with Stoneforge Mystic.
I like it as wrath as an equipment that you can get, but it's also wrath protection. Like, you can keep developing your board if this is one of the equipments you have or go get, and not worry nearly as much about wrath, because like in the Stoneforge Mystic deck, you have like random swords or whatever laying around. They wrath your board. They think and then you can have this make it a guy, and then put your other equipment on it and go to town. Like Haunted Plate Mail wielding a sword of fire and ice.
I mean, to me, this kind of looks like a fixed version of the Kodama equipment from Mirrodin.
If you have a sword of fire and ice and other guys, and you're probably winning anyways.
Right, but if they if they wrath you or something like that.
I mean, I guess this card is just really good on its own. I think this card's phenomenal, and this card would definitely be in the cube.
Yeah, I think it'll make it in to the cube.
But at the same time, you're saying you're not interested in seeing it in the same decks as Stoneforge Mystic.
No, I don't think this card's actually very good with Stoneforge Mystic.
It's just too slow as an equipment.
So yeah, exactly.
Obviously, sorry. Go ahead. You finish, Zach.
No. That's if I'm playing a creature to get this, you're losing its most versatile function of paying 0 to activate it.
So you're saying the times you're going to equip this to a creature are very few and far between.
I think that they are more. They're fewer and far betweener than me activating this for 0 as a control deck.
Right.
Yes.
That's exactly what I'm saying. And I think there's enough play in this card that every iteration of it is going to see play, which makes it to me like a home run for Cube. Like it's an efficiently costed card. I like the analogies of comparing it to something like a card like Chimeric Idol or Jade Statue in previous, depending on how long you've played Magic.
Being able to attack in the same turn that you cast Damnation, or something to that effect is very good. Or Devastation,
or being able to activate my thing and not have to tap my land, so I can still counter spells. I think is
the 0 on it is a big deal. I wonder.
It's going to be hard to get rid of.
I wonder in development if it started at 0 or if it had a cost.
It probably had a cost. They probably turned it.
Remember, like Ensouled Scimitar.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Like the sword and the shield and the helmet or whatever.
That's separate from it. Ensouled Scimitar was from 5th Dawn. It was the one where it was like...
It was a 1/5.
It was a dancing scimitar variant where you would equip it to a guy who's +1/+5. Yeah. Because giant sword always means 5 to toughness to me. But you could pay 3 and make it into a creature.
Yeah.
Alright, so next up on the list, Blightcaster, not a thing.
Also triggers with enchantments, so unless you're going super deep on the old Enchantress plan... which could be a thing. I mean, we've talked about it recently, about doing that kind of thing. This guy would not make the cut, though. Black is not where it's at.
No. So the last card, and is kind of interesting, Tidebinder Mage.
So this would be the blue section of the 5-color hose cycle.
Would it?
Yes.
Okay.
Because it
specifically
specifically refers to red and green creatures. Okay. But tell everyone at home what we're looking at here, Eck.
Blue for a 2/2 Merfolk. So Merfolk Wizards, so relevant creature types in not necessarily in our cube, but in many.
Sure. If it's Legacy or a particular cube, you could bounce with Riptide Lab.
Certainly constructed implications with this one. When Tidebinder Mage enters the battlefield, tap target red or green creature an opponent controls. That creature doesn't untap during its controller's untap step for as long as you control Tidebinder Mage. So I really like this card more in a general sense, even not talking about cube. Modern Merfolk.
Is that a deck?
I mean, it's been a deck. It's been a fringe deck for a while, and
can't beat Pod or a couple other things.
Yeah, I mean, it's been on the fringe of playability, and having the ability to shut down a Tarmogoyf is very good.
I mean, obviously this card has Tarmogoyf written all over it. It's just more of a question to me of is double blue on a 2/2 a casting cost in Modern that's a real thing right now? Or in Legacy, how do the Rug Delver decks not just laugh at this card and be draw a card off Electrolyze or whatever?
Yeah, it has that same problem, kind of what was the guy that came out before?
I'm talking about Dungeon Geist.
Yeah, Dungeon Geist. He's just too easily solved. 2 toughness, 3 toughness just isn't enough in a format, especially in Cube, in a format full of every removal spell kills it.
Yeah, I don't think this is really a card for us. This is we've kind of tried to incorporate a blue aggro slant with some of the more recent changes.
You mean Phantasmal Bear?
Delver Secrets. Azure Mage.
But I don't even think that this is necessarily where the next step of that would be. That said, if you care about Merfolk at all, this is certainly an interesting one to look at.
For your Merfolk cube.
Oh, if you're a tribal cube or you have those interactions.
Is that a thing? Tribal cubes?
Yeah.
Centaur is one of the tribes? That'd be pretty sweet.
They could be.
All right.
It's limited by your imagination.
Awesome.
Zach is definitely living in 2003.
I love centaurs.
2002 even.
Yeah. So
that brings us all the way up to the moment in M14 Spoilerland, and things are looking better.
Certainly a lot more options than the last time we did this.
We had 2 what we felt pretty strong, maybe 3
it was
strong
the demons, Shadowborn Demon, and I think we maybe talked about Archangel of Thune.
No, it's Archangel of Thune
before tonight. Those are other cards. Okay.
We were talking about Liliana's Reaver, and then we had
Liliana's Reaver, yeah.
Usman on the show last week, and he wasn't super stoked on that one. So I don't know. Maybe in the long run.
Are all the mythic spoiled at this point?
No.
Almost all of them are.
They're getting
red.
But
missing a red and a blue.
Something like that.
Yeah, red and blue.
Anyway.
Yeah, Elvish Mystic, that guy will be in there for sure. Yeah, I think this set is perfectly fine for Cube. There's a lot of complaints about core sets and Cube, and do they ever offer anything ever? And I think it's It's all fine. Does Zach have impressions of Shadowborn Demon?
I kind of like that guy.
Good.
5 mana, 1/8/7 creature's kind of rough.
He's a 5/6 flyer.
How many mana elves is too many? So this was another conversation I was having today. I mentioned that Elvish Mystic is like pretty much an auto-include, and someone said that they had...
Do you mean like too many in the cube or too many in a specific deck?
I think they made too many in the cube.
No, there isn't a limit.
The discussion we had of how many exact Landwar elves they could print before we would not run them, and I think we came to an agreement on 7.
Oh, I said 11.
You said 11?
Because there's 7.
Aren't they at 7 now?
There's
or
7
something
currently.
like that?
There's 7 currently. Yeah.
I was saying just strictly Landwar elves, like with no modifications.
You mean just tap for
definitely
a
aren't
green?
7.
No,
A
that's
green
what I was saying. Like
1/1
there
that
could
taps
be
for a
7.
green?
I mean, there are some of the best green cards.
Yeah.
In general,
no one's debating you.
You
We
know.
do not run.
No, well, that's what I'm saying. I was having this debate today on Reddit because people were saying like, all I run is Double Hierarch, Jiraga Tree Speaker, and Deathrite Shaman, and I have no room for any other ones.
I run a 285 Shards of Alara forward cube with 15 mythics.
That's
360
That's very specific to people do
unpowered.
that. Like,
Yes.
oh wow. That's pretty.
If there's a thing, people have a cube for it.
Like what our next topics are on today's show.
So the first one we're going to talk about, which is a sweet one.
They're all sweet, Eck.
They're both sweet, but I do really enjoy this one.
So check out Andrew.
I'm going to put the link in chat.
How would you pronounce Andrew's last name? Not City.
Site?
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 Andrew Site. He, first of all, the fact that this particular article is just chock full of pictures just really makes the mouth water. But Andrew has gone and done something very near and dear to my heart. You know, I preach on this show all the time about, Cube is history of Magic. Cube is all those experiences that we loved playing Magic in our youth, or maybe now in this current generation there aren't that many people to play it. So he has the 1994 Cube. So go and check this article out on Gathering Magic. We're not going to, just pick up a whole situation apart, but more just kind of be like, what do you guys feel like in terms of nostalgia for Cube? I mean, would this be fun to play more than once, do you think, where you got to have that feeling of old cards? Do you think there's strategies to be had here, or is this just kind of a walk down memory lane?
Beta?
Yes.
He's playing 2 of each.
This was like the one concession
that he made.
Because mana fixing is terrible.
There's just no mana fixing other than those.
That's fair.
So this definitely... I mean, this is a great idea, and I think that it is really cool. This is definitely something that I would want to see in person, and definitely would want to play at least once. From reading the article and looking at the list, I'm not sure how great of a long-term...
Like, this seems like a huge investment for a format that's not actually very fun.
Well, that's really the real question, is replayability.
Right.
Like, we all want to walk down memory lane and have this experience, but how good are Magic cards in this era?
And that's one of the things about Cube in general, is that it's always evolving, it's always updating, they're always putting new cards, to change or replace and try out. With the 1994 Cube, you are looking at a snapshot, not a moving picture. And while that's very cool, and I would definitely want to experience it, this might be one of those don't try this at home kind of decisions.
Yeah. I could get on board. That's a lot of work
it's a lot of work, and I mean, I commend him for putting the list together and getting all these cards and going through the effort. I think it's
Vanishing Unicorn.
Really cool idea.
I don't know, Mesa Pegasus over there?
Is that what it is? The middle one?
Oh, the very middle? You mean Pearled Unicorn?
Yeah, that one.
That is White Gray Ogre, sir.
Yeah, that card's awesome.
See, again, like it would definitely be a thrill to do once. There's your Army of Allah. I don't know if there's the Jihad. Can we put the Jihad on
Jihad? Ooh, Resurrection?
Yeah.
Why isn't that card in your cube?
The card Resurrection?
Yeah.
It's double blue and it costs 4... Sorry, double white and it costs 4 mana? Oh, I just played Breath of Life.
It's Breath of Life.
It's a 1 white and 3 colorless.
Resurrection? Does it give him a +1/+1?
No, but neither does Resurrection.
Which one does that?
That's Miraculously Recovery for 5.
That used to be in the queue, right?
Yes.
That got cut?
Yes.
So, there's a number, a lot of cool cards in this, a lot of interesting, I mean, again, despite the fact that this is, you're pulling out of a relatively small pool, I do not envy the amount of time it probably took him to get this together, as well as balance it and come up with the list.
I mean, is it balanced? Could it possibly be balanced?
It's not balanced. It's more of let's look at the 300 or 3,000 cards, not even 3,000 cards. I don't know how large the pool is to draw from, and then let's cut the really abysmal stuff. Let's cut no Sea King's blessings, no glyphs of destruction.
Like you can't just have a balanced cube when you're limiting yourself to this section of cards because they weren't balanced.
There's gaseous form. There's a straight up sand skin in all its various forms.
When the cycle of cards was Ancestral Recall and Healing Salve, and this was balanced to the creators of the game, you can't create a balanced format.
Pirate ship. Yeah.
Long story short, I think again hit the nail on the head here, where it's you don't have an evolution, you don't have as much control over set building and kind of adjustments. You're just really taking kind of a snapshot of Magic in this one, obviously the most appealing and alluring time period for the game, where either you were there and you want to recapture it, or maybe you didn't have the opportunity to be there and you just want to kind of have that experience and know what it was like just to play. Because, in reality, the 1994 Cube concept is a lot of what Magic kind of used to be for a lot of people. You didn't, decks weren't all 4-ofs back in that era. You were lucky to have enough copies of the cards to be able to play even X1s and things very similar. So,
I'd just like to point out, by the way, that mousing over this list, the choices of card printings for the auto card function are very funny to me. This is the 1994 Cube, where we've gone through a million different versions of all these cards, and we're just kind of picking them at random, it seems. 9th edition M10, original Arabian Nights. Oh, now we got the Chroma Angel vs. Demons deck or whatever. There's the white border version.
Revised.
There's full, Anyway, so I definitely think that I would want. This is one of those things where if I was at a GP and saw this unfolding, I would be forced to stay and watch and participate. But I would not. I doubt I would go home with the man. I can't wait to do that again.
Red looks pretty boss.
Actually, I was thinking red is
red's pretty strong color here.
Yeah. Shooting dragon. Lightning Bolt's still very good, right?
We also have Disintegrate Fireball.
Yeah, Immolate, even Immolation, Bloodlust. You have a lot of decent removal. You have Flyers.
You have Mana Barbs.
You have Blazing Effigy. That's not good. Sorry.
You got that sweet Gargoyle up in the top right corner.
Yeah. So 94 Cube, very cool. Cool idea. Would definitely love to see it live. Not sure if it's really a thing everyone should run out and go replicate, but kudos to him for really putting this together.
He runs all 4 versions of Factory as well, because mana fixing
that's kind of sweet, actually.
Yeah,
mana fixing is just so bad back in the day.
Island of Whack Whack.
You gotta double up on lands.
That card was not good, right?
Island of Whack Whack.
Oh, actually, that is pretty good. Never mind.
Yeah,
that is not what I thought it was.
So, yeah, it's cool. So, kudos, Andrew. Check that out in Gathering Magic, everybody. It's cool.
Not to be outdone, but surprisingly to be outdone, Eric Klug also gave us this spectacular...
We've got from history to Flavor Town.
Yeah, full flavor.
So, this is the Zombie Cube, put together by Eric Klug. And the premise of this, for those of you who have not read the article, and I'll put the link in chat.
You should do that. You should also, whatever, for the just listeners, the date. Should they go through the Gathering?
If you want to go through the archive on Gathering
archives.
Magic, this is from June 26, 2013.
Yes, exactly. It was 1% of you were listening to this in the year 2025, and you're going to be able to go back in the archives and find this article.
So, what Eric has done with this is, rather than balance around colors or try and make things even, what he's done is basically made a cube of 2 sides, humans and zombies. And it's like the zombie apocalypse. So we've got...
As seen, represented by this zombie apocalypse.
Right. So this is a very, flavor-driven...
Dude, heck, we don't know. Tell us. We don't know. I might mess up your rhythm. I don't know.
Go ahead, talk.
So we're all familiar with tribal cubes. I mean, if you're like Zach, if you're Encino Man, a tribal cube is usually based around maybe one tribe per color, maybe two tribes per color. Zombie cube takes things in a very different direction, and the element and the layer that it adds is a very, very fun one that I think kind of pulls out of the doldrums of like, oh, I got an elvish archdruid, I guess I'll draft all the elves.
Yeah,
that kind of thing. Like here in Zombies versus Humans, it's literally Zombies versus Humans. If you have a human in your deck, you can't have zombies, and vice versa, obviously. And so there, you're not really kind of cut into colors, although the breakdown is not symmetrical all the way around. You're going to have far fewer, probably, blue cards.
Are there non-zombie human creatures in this cube?
Let us take.
What about shapeshifters?
So you can see the breakdown. There's a lot of black, 130 to black, 65 in white. And we got 30 cards in all the other. Because you just got to fill it out. But
this guy took that black sucks thing in a whole different direction, didn't he?
Again, I think it's an excellent...
sweet, actually.
It's an excellent challenge. And there's also, again, full flavor. Cards like Narrow Escape. In white.
I don't know what that card is.
Sure it does. You played,
I like
Zendikar
Slow Courage. Yeah, I mean... So this has got some sweet spells. I'm on board. So here's the real question. You can't play humans or zombies, but Gather the Townfolk makes humans. Could you play that in your zombie deck?
I think that would defeat it's the letter of the law, spirit of the law kind of thing.
Okay. I was just curious if this was a corner case that was covered.
I just think, for the most part, if you're entering into the zombie cube, you're clearly a willing participant in the flavor of the zombie.
Sure,
it's not what's the most powerful card in a vacuum. It's again, Narrow Escape.
Ooh, slice and dice.
Thrill of the hunt.
Yeah.
Slice and dice.
Who do you want on your side in a zombie apocalypse? Manic Vandal or Shock Troops?
Yeah, I think this to me really kind of addresses a lot of my issues with tribal cubes, where it's just like I feel like it's very cookie cutter.
Oh, he's a zombie.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, trixies.
Yeah.
There's just some goblin.
Zach is perusing the spoiler and enjoying what he sees. Travel preparations.
Boy, this is pretty sweet.
I know, right?
We
can definitely we can make this on a budget real quickly. And again, the fun level of it really just pushes this whole thing through the roof for me. I think that this is a very different from that snapshot of 1994. This is and this is something that can evolve. I mean, this can change. And you could really kind of play with it, and no one can ever really get on your case for what you put in. I feel like, unless you start adding the mutant sharks or something like
land sharks,
shamble sharks,
or land shark.
I think it's really.
Ooh, an elf. See a zombie.
There are some elves. There are some other things. I mean, zombies don't care what they're eating, right?
Humans might be elitists and not want to work with other races, though.
Dude,
I think it's a really neat idea. I think it's really.
It's a human.
Cool. And, this is one of those things where, could you even potentially replicate this style of thing with
for something else, yeah.
Rather than just the zombie apocalypse?
Undead Slayer's gonna be a bomb, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because a house.
But
it's probably a she. It's probably altered to look like Buffy.
Yeah. This is Eric Clark we're talking about.
I don't know who this is, but that's fine.
So, how, could you do kind of like the other, so like rather than have the zombie apocalypse, kind of like the conflicts that are presented in, say, like the dual decks, like dual decks cube or whatever, you have,
I'm trying to think of a way, like something like Merfolk, who we like but they're really cube worthy. What kind of conflict? Like the
Merfolk versus Centaur for
the
Aquaman. Centaur don't go in the water.
Well, then they're gonna have to lose.
Yeah.
You guys got Merfolk just like flipping them the bird from the water all the time. Be like, you can't get us, Centaurs. You guys are lame.
Don't hate on Centaurs. They're sweet. Sam, you should ask Sam Pardee about his Centaurs one time. He'll let you know.
I think he's gone to bed like most people.
I think it's a really neat thing. Just in general.
Are you guys familiar with the card Dedapult?
Yeah.
Yeah. Talk about a bomb.
Yeah.
Is that the squirrel catapult thing?
Except it's a zombie.
Zombie catapult.
Oh, really?
It's a card from Apocalypse.
Oh, okay.
Or sorry, plane shift.
Dedapult.
land versus sky versus sea, trains versus planes versus automobiles. These
Yeah.
could all be things.
Brain Bite, that one is probably just in there for flavor text. That was-
Exactly.
Some of the cards are definitely in for flavor.
I mean, just look at this. There's only
Fine.
15 blue creatures in the entire
Daft
thing.
Duelist.
Talus Airship. What does this even do?
Good luck. Good luck.
I don't even know.
Destroys
It's a
all
tiny
of-
pit.
it flies.
Alright,
It's
it's
a
a 3/2 flyer from starter.
It's an
Okay.
airship, so you can get away from the zombies.
Right, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So-
ain't no zombies flying.
A lot of cool stuff in this. I think Eric did a great job. putting
Yeah, this is like
together.
a cube home run of the year. I think
Yeah,
this,
this thing is sweet.
this kind of out of the box thinking. I mean, I can remember when we were building things like Crap Cube, and we really thought we were using
We were
very
innovating with our pale moons.
yeah. It just again, I
Mind
can't
blown.
get over Ember shots and how good those are.
Yeah.
But this looks like a completely different animal that I absolutely love. I definitely cannot wait to play with this thing. It's awesome. So that kind of does it for us this week. A little shorter on the show side. We know we didn't have a guest this time, but now that we've successfully guested, I have to get back in touch with people like Jay Boosh from the A-Team, who is a huge cube enthusiast. We'll have to get back. We want to have someone like Kenny, who is a devout Twitch stream contributor.
If he's on your show, who's going to talk to you in the chat?
Those other people. There's Norbert still here. I was like, there's somebody called Ekamon.
That fucking guy.
So we got that stuff worked out. But look for more of that in the future. It's been a long day for us. It's we had a packed house for Cube League tonight. A lot of sweet decks.
First time we've ever had to turn people away.
We never really had to turn anyone away. Except Zach.
It's
Yeah.
true, but I volunteered, so it was really okay.
It worked out all right. Got some decent photos. We'll try to ship them around this time.
Yeah.
But check us out every week on twitchtv.ekamon, twitch.tv.
How do you fuck this up every time?
I don't know.
He's not
I feel
a
like I
Twitch
say it
user.
all the time. I just guessed it on Monday Night Magic. I was flawless. Every
Just
single
Tuesday nights roll around, kids.
every single plug. Twitch. The irony is the people who are listening to us right now are like, "I'm already here, idiot. What are you doing?" Twitch.tv/Ekamon for the live stream, usually Tuesday evenings. Follow us at ekamon.blogspot.com for all your Cube updates, your Cube pictures, your Cube League information. Follow at Young Mecha on Twitter, at Tristan Gregson on Twitter, and Zach, are you on Twitter?
I don't do that.
Are you on Vine?
No.
Tout.
Can they add you on Candy Crush?
MySpace?
You can add me on Candy Crush. I need more friends to give me free tickets.
What's your Candy Crush?
It's
name?
just Facebook.
Find Zach Preston on Facebook.
Probably won't accept your friend invite unless I actually know you.
Just message him about Candy Crush.
I want to be your friend, Candy.
Hey, it's addicting. Don't let these two people tell you otherwise.
Uh,
What was your Twitter name? Or your...
Young Micah.
Alright, we'll talk about that later.
well, there you have it. We're out for this week. We'll be back next week with a new Versus segment. Very exciting, and more fodder to be added to that.
You can send your dick pics.
You can send pictures of your penis to
Thank you.
draftcube@gmail.com.
Almost forgot about the email address. It's been kind of a ghost town over there.
Yeah.
So we got the Twitter, we got the email, we got the blog, we're still on MTG Cast every week. Thanks to those guys. Got a little bit of flack for not, talking about more when I was on their show a while ago, but whatever. Thanks for those guys. Thanks to the A-Team for trying to clean up their comments from their show last week. And